Okay, so before we dive into what we have for today, I want to know how many persons were able to do that little task I did on Monday, analyzing the website. So let okay. So that made it one. I need a girl. Okay, even big sheds, Ugochi, Madu. All right, so fine. Let's unmute and tell us which sites you actually worked on and what you saw and how you can solve it as a UI UX designer. So I would ask Ugochi to unmute first. Ladies before gentlemen. Okay, so Ugochi, you can talk. Your mic is already unmuted.
Okay, good evening, Boma.
Yeah, good evening.
So for the task, I analyzed a mobile app and also a web page. So for the web page, I feel it was good. The aesthetics was okay. The language was easy to understand. The flow, I think for the web page, it was cool. So that's why I decided to look for something else I could analyze that actually had issues. So for the mobile app, I came across this app, a fintech app, Zend Finance. So I interacted with it, and then that was when according to the heuristics principles, almost everything with that particular app was bad. It was difficult to use, first of all. The navigation was hard. What is it called? The aesthetics was really bad. The language was not easy to understand. Like, I didn't know what to do at some point. And the what's it called? The arrangement of the things you need to do, like say the user flow or so, wasn't in the order that was easy to understand. Like, if I was really a user and I wanted to use that app like consistently, I don't think I would. I would run away from what they did. So those are the two I did. The For the web page, it's called Synity, SYNITY. It's a software platform, a cloud-based platform. So those were the two I did. Thank you.
Hello?
Yes. Did you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So are you done?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so thank you very much. Dami, you you said you've done your assignment, so tell me the sites you actually visited and what you noticed.
All right, can anybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I
Yes,
was
we
able
can.
to visit an app rather, Air Credit. So I discovered some things there. I discovered the sign-in page, the sign-in screen, where the portion of where you're supposed to put if you don't want to sign, like if you don't have an account, sign up. Like, it's not probably the screen is not properly arranged at all. Like, the distance is too much. The interface, what can I say about? Then they didn't use an icon to notify. Though I wrote everything down in my book, like 5 of the screens or 6 of the screens. So they didn't put an eye icon there in case you need to see the kind of the pin you are typing in on the password space. Then when I got in, at the home screen, they were so bad with the aesthetics. Then one other thing they did was that there was a pop-up message that keep coming up, and that pop-up message is so attention grabbing that they didn't give it didn't give users option for the exit of that pop-up. It's just like when we are using our phone and MTN brings up a message and you don't know, you might just go and click the wrong button. So that pop-up message was just so enlarged that it takes you to be careful enough to know that there is a button for you to exit that that pop-up message. And there are the account section too, where you were meant to upload your ATM card, like it was poorly done, very poor. Actually, me being familiar with other apps, like I know that whenever you add your ATM to a financial app, it's going to display that like an ATM to look as if like the ATM, it will look as if it's an ATM that is there, but they just did it. It was really, really bad. Those were the things I actually saw there. Those are the things I could remember. I saw there was like 4 to 5 to 6 I saw.
Okay, thank you, Dami. So the next person is Adelami. So which site did you visit and what did you notice from the site?
It was an application actually. I was planning on doing a desktop site then. I was browsing Instagram and I saw a promotion for app. So I just decided to just follow the link. What I did was first I noted the things using the heuristic principles that we talked about. I first noted the things that were being done correctly. And I know that some of the things that were done correctly were less the error prevention, because at the point I was going to give them access to my contacts, and there was a modal or a notification that just pop up. I was alerted that do I really want to do this? And I thought that was really good. If it was something I think I would have just been able to easily avoid it. And for the visibility of system status, for every point, for most of the points, yes, um, there was something like there was an update. Like, okay, this is we are here right now. This is what's going on. So it's not like I wasn't just left kept in the dark without knowing what was going on. Then I then but one thing that I felt was that I felt wasn't really good um, regarding those principles that we learned was the consistency and standard, and matching these things with the ones we have in our world. So the icons that were being used, it's a logistics page. Actually, it's a logistics page, and then for once everybody knows that once you enter an application, one of the first places that you will land, except if you come in from an external link, one of the first places that you land is the home page. Then all of a sudden I was seeing dashboard, and for a dashboard, it wasn't looking like a dashboard at all. Dashboard most times usually contains personal information about the user, but this didn't contain it, and the icons even didn't correlate with what was going on. Then there was shipment. There was an icon for they used an icon for shipment, and what they just did was they put two rectangles and they put an arrow going out. I was just confused at that point, and I was like, okay, let's considering the fact that okay, I might be someone that uses tech a lot, so I understand what this is for. But for someone who doesn't understand anything, the person would have really found it hard to interact or do anything on the application. Also, the shipment icon, the imports, the settings. I think the one that just killed me was there was a there was a section that the name there was settings, but the icon I was seeing was the icon of an avatar, and I was until I just clicked on it and it took me to a profile page. So at that point in time, I was like, they didn't really pay attention to the consistency and the industry standard. So That's it for my.
Okay, thank you. You made me like say the one that shocked you. But the thing is, we learn every day. After knowing this, you would just start seeing different ways to make things right. So because of the assignment I gave to you people, because of the tasks I said people should do, I came across something today. Now, one good thing about being a designer is, like I said, you would something that on a norms is like normal, would become unusual for you. Like you would just look at it and this is not the right way. So I was going through I was trying to mark a task on Google Classroom, and when I it's necessary that I give a comment. So while trying to give comment, I noticed that there's sometimes that maybe autocorrect will correct something and you just accidentally post it. There is no edit button, so I can't go back to edit it. And that I noticed that this site is not flexible. Once I post, even if I post something by mistake, I give a comment by mistake. Trying to edit it is I've searched for it, I could not. Also, I was using Netflix because this is like my first time of using Netflix app. So I someone then told me something that she cannot actually cancel her downloads. And I went to interact with the site and I noticed that once you start downloading, you cannot cancel it. The only thing that might cancel your downloads for you is if what you're downloading, let's say you're giving it to so many other users and there's a limit to what you can download, then the download will not go through. Then I also noticed that they were not keeping me informed, which is visibility of system study, system status. Sorry, they were not keeping me informed. I did not know how many percent my download had gone. I was just seeing downloading and the thing moving. So let's say I don't have enough data and I want to actually force that download. I cannot even do it. So while learning, we learn every day. So with this knowledge of knowing how a good usable site should be, now for any time you look at a site, I'm very certain that you will see one fault that I think they would have done this better. So that's it for that. So today we'll be going straight to typography. So I know in the beginners level, they taught us typography, but now as we are in intermediate level, we need to know some principles guiding how to select your font and the kind of font you should use, your text size and every other thing. So that once you design, sometimes I don't know if you've seen a design where mostly in graphics though, where they use only text, but the design is very fine because they know the rules and how to go about it. So let me share my screen. Give me a second, guys. Okay, so let's continue while I wait for my screen to come up. So we'll be talking about typography, like I said. So now, what is typography? Typography is just how you make your text look. Now, there are three things you need to consider when making your typography, when trying to type something, or when choosing your font. You should make sure that it's legible. That means people can actually see it very well. You should also make sure that it's readable. Let me be able to read it. Now, this has to do with size, the size of your font. So when designing as a UI/UX designer, you don't need to make your font extremely small so that someone cannot see it. You can actually see it, but then you're not designing for yourself, number one. You're designing for the users. And your users, you can have blind people with visual issue as your users. You can have people that are short-sighted. You can have people that are long-sighted as your users. So you need to make your font balanced to be at the center. So someone that is short-sighted can see your font. Someone that is long-sighted can also see your font. Either ways. So you need to put three things in mind when choosing your font or when setting your value for font. Make sure the font is legible. Make sure it's legible. Make sure it's readable, and make sure it's appealing. And make sure it's appealing to the eyes. Now, font is actually a very broad topic. It's not something that you can just learn. It's something that you practice when using it. Now, every designer, whether you're a UI UX designer or a graphic designer, you need to learn how to make fonts. Now, in future, most of you will dive into product design as like product design, full-time product designer. One thing about product design is you're not only designing the interface and the rest, you're looking at the marketing part of it. And you might as well just start designing simple flyers and banners to make your adverts. Like I do flyers and I do banners when it's needed. And the thing is, you must not use Photoshop or any of those tools to do all those things. You can do it in Canva. So when you want to choose fonts, we know that you most times don't use decorative fonts for UI UX, but it will come when you need it to design a flyer or anything. So that's what a typography is. That's what typography is. Now we'll move to what a font and a typeface is. Now we all know that a typeface is the collection of many styles. It's a collection of many styles. So you have Roboto, you have Inter as your typeface, whereas the font family, let's say the font itself, if it's Roboto Bold, then that's a font. If it's Roboto Light, that's a font. If it's Inter Black, that's a font. But a typeface is the collection of fonts. And it's also advisable most times that when choosing a font, you choose fonts that have different typeface, like 5 to 6 typeface. Because personally, as a designer, I don't like using more than one font. So I prefer to stick to a font that has different typeface. No, to the font that has, yes, different styles of font. Like you have the bold, so that I can be able to mix it and use it for my design. Now, we're supposed to talk about your type structure, where you have your baseline, ascender and descender. Then we need to know why we're supposed to select good fonts. Now, fonts, it's not just about how your font should look. It's about how it is to your client, how they can use it, and how it properly fits your brand personality. Now, the brand you're working with, the font you need to choose should be able to fit in with that particular brand. You need to know the categories of fonts you are to use as a designer. Now, we have 3 categories of fonts. We have the sans serif, we have the serif, and we have the script. Now, the sans serif, it's the normal professional fonts we know, like the ones that they use for serious designs. Most of our companies, they use the sans serif to design, because it's always, you can always see a good font from the sans serif family. We also have the serif. This is also good, but it's mostly used to write blogs and articles. So most times it's better. Like for me, what I advise people is, if you don't know how to mix fonts, if you don't know how to mix fonts, it's advisable that you stick to one type. So just go online, look for sans serif font. But as you are UX designers, you might not need to check online very well. You can use Google Fonts to get those fonts, material designs. Yes, Google Fonts to get those fonts that are actually necessary, that are actually needed for UI UX design. Then we have the script. Now we all know what a script is. Those type of fonts that are looking slanting. Those ones, it's not ideal to use them to design, because your users will not see them. There are some that are very good, except you can search for those very good ones. It is advisable that you stick to mostly serifs and sans serifs. Now, you can use serifs most times for your header text, those texts that used to stay on your hero page. That's if you want something that's catch, depending on the language, the type of thing you're designing for. But designing for children, you will not want to be limited to sans serif, because children, they like anything that is attractive. So you can use your serif or you can use your script at that point to teach them, so to design for them. So why is it very necessary to pick a good font? Or what is the importance? One, you should pick, like I said initially, pick a readable font so that it will be simple. People can just read it from any part. So that's that. So then I also said, like I said initially, we should also try to stick with at least one font. Yeah, if you are good with choosing fonts, you can stick with two or three, with two, sorry. But it's advisable that most times we stick with just one font. So now it's depending on what you are designing for also. If you're designing for Apple products, their list font is 16. That should be their base font, 16. Then if you're designing for Google and Google Pixel phones and the rest of them, you should use 17 as your base size. Now you can lower these values, but this should be at your list size for body copies and test input. So if you want to design for test input and the rest of them, the list you should go is 16 if you're designing for Apple. Then if you're designing for Google, it should be 17. Okay, please let me fix this screen something. Okay, so let's continue. I'm still not able to share from now. So we're moving on to how to build a type scale, how to build fonts that you need to use for all your designs. So now, like I said, if you're designing for Apple products, you should ensure that your typeface base, that means the base typeface should be 16, while for Google, you should use 17. So now we all know that first you need to select your base text, which is 16 pixel. Now, what you need to do for you to be able to get different ratios of this particular font, please, I need someone to help me to write this down, depending on where my screen should come up, so we can share it to people on the group. So the next thing you need to do is you need to multiply, or you divide that your base. So if you want to get your body text, you have to divide that your 16 by 1.618. So once you divide it, tell me what you get. So divide and tell me what you get.
Sorry, ma'am, please, can you come again?
Like I said, that your base text should be 16 if you're designing for Apple. So let's assume that we are designing for Apple products. Now our base text is 16 and we need varieties of fonts. We need different font size that can work. Because if you use 16 for button, you might not use 16 for your body text, especially when you have longer text to write. So this is what you do. You now get to divide your fonts by 1.618. So divide it and tell me what you get.
9.88.
9.88.
So round it over to the nearest whole number.
10.
That's 10. So you can use 10 pixel font. Then we want to get a bigger font also. So what we need to do is to multiply that particular base line by that same 1.618. So do it and tell me what you get.
25.25.
25.
So that should be
26.
26. Now we've gotten our size, the size I want. So now, if you still want smaller sizes, depending on what you want to do, because there are some designs that you need to keep something by the side. I don't know how to explain this. Now, there are some designs that you need to have pop-up, and this pop-up, the screens are not supposed to be the text font is not supposed to be very big, just like something that will be popping up and be going back. You can still do that, but it is advisable that you don't go beyond 10. So you can stick with 10. So you've gotten 10, you've gotten 16, and you have 26. Now, if you still want bigger text, that same 26 that you got, you can multiply it by 1.618. Multiply it and see what you get.
42.
42. Yes, 42. Now you can boldly use 42 as your hero text, your H1. You can still multiply to get more sizes. So I need to show you my screen. Okay, so we'll just continue like that. Now, since we've gotten that, we've gotten 26, we've gotten 42, we've gotten 16, and we've gotten 2, we've gotten 10. So if you want your text to be bolder, depending on what it is, you can just start adding 2 to each of them. So you can add 2 to 16 to make it 14. You can add 2 to 14 to make it, so 2 to 16 to make it 18. You can add 2 to make it 22, 24, like that. If depending on the type you want to get, depending on what you want to achieve using your font. So that's it for trying to get font. Is there any question? Okay, Solomon, unmute and talk.
Isma, you were not sharing your screen as you were talking, please, and my network has just been fluctuating.
Yes, I've not been sharing my screen. That's a technical issue for me. So I've just been explaining from my end. But is there any person that got it? You can do well to help us explain for Solomon. Lami.
That'll be now or later.
Now.
Okay. What she said, we're talking about fonts. She first. Oh,
Does not understand. She does like cast your screen. That what you mean.
no, I'm not talking about. Oh, see, I don't
He said
understand. What did you say?
He said does not understand. She like cast your screen. Like
No, he said he doesn't understand because network logged him off and he's not
Oh.
seeing my screen. So I want someone to explain what I've said so far.
Okay. All right. So what she said is she was talking about the base size for iOS, Apple basically. She was talking about the base size, and she mentioned that the base size is 16. Then for Android, they make use of 17. That's pictures. Now, for you to that 16, she now said that say 16 is your base size. That will be the size for approximately buttons and some texts and such. So if you want something smaller than that, you should divide it by 1.618. That's the golden ratio, I think. So 1.618. Once you divide 16 by 1.618, you should get 9.88. Then she said you should round it off to the nearest whole number, which is 10. So she now said, she went further and said that we shouldn't go beyond 10, because one thing that we should always aim for while designing is to make our text readable. So we shouldn't go beyond 10. And if you want something bigger, instead of dividing this time, you multiply by 1.618. That will give you 25.89, which approximately is 26. Then if you want something bigger, which can be used for your hero text and some other things, you should also multiply 25.89 26 by 1.618, which will give you 42. She said you can boldly use that for your hero text and whatever you need it for. So I think that's where you.
Okay, so thank you very much, Lami. So I said something that if you want to keep increasing it at this point, so it's advisable that you increase it by 2 or you reduce it by 2. So if you have 46 and you want something smaller, you can decrease it by 2. That's 44. If you have 16 and you want something bigger, you can just increase it by 2. But on no condition should you use something like 35, 25, 15. You should always be 16 upward and the rest of them. Okay, yeah, thank you. It's the golden ratio. Now, you know that it's not just your text size that determines how fine your text is going to appear. There's also another thing that actually influences your text, which is the line height. If you're on Figma, if you notice that if you go towards where your text is, you always see line height. Sometimes it's always on automatic, but most times automatic doesn't work the way we want it to work. So we need to also do you need to set your line height yourself most times. So now how do we set our line height? So if you've gotten your text, you've gotten the font, the text you want to use, let's say 16, you've gotten it at that 16. So what you need to do is to multiply it by 1.6. Did you get that? Let's say your text is 16. Multiply it by 1.6. So let's say you're using 16. What did we get? 25.6. Now, once you get anything 25.6, you should always round up to the nearest whole number. Now, there is an exception. Like I said, you should not use 25, 26, 25, 27, 29. But then if you decide to use it and it's appearing very fine on your screen and you want to work on your line height, you should ensure that your line height should also be odd. So since you're using, let's say, font size 24. So 24 times 1.6, anything it gives to you, 25. All numbers are even numbers here. 25. So 25 times 1.6, anything it gives to you, that should be your line height. But you should ensure that it's also odd number. So in a situation where I have 25.6, you just don't need to round it off to any whole number. Just leave it at 25 and you use it. That's if for some exception, because you know that rules are made by man and rules can be broken. So if it's looking, the whole goal of everything is let it be looking readable, let it be fine, and the rest of them. So once you use an odd number and it's very fine, you can leave it that way. So someone's hand is up, or you can ask a question before we continue.
Yes, I wanted to ask regarding the base size. Now, is it for just iPhones, or let's say like iPhone 11 Pro, or tablets, or the desktop? Because I know that these things, they, especially when we talk about responsiveness, how do we look at the sizes?
Okay, so this one I'm talking about now is mostly for hero text, like when you're working on the website. That's why you keep multiplying till you get the biggest number. So if you're using a phone to design and your base is 16, let's say yes, your base is 16, and you divide and you multiply or you divide. So you have to reduce it. You don't work with the highest you can go for a mobile should be 2426 for your header. 2426. You can't use 40 something. That's why it keeps increasing as you keep multiplying it, if you notice. So depending on the screen you're trying to design for. Now, like I said, for the line height, that you should multiply by 1.6, but this is not for a text with larger fonts. So imagine you're using 46 and you multiply by 1.6. What will it give to us? Let someone with calculator. Let's say you're using 46 and your your line height, you are now multiplying it by 1.6.
73.6 or something. 73.6.
If you're with your system, try to type something and use 73 point something and see how it will look. So there's something you need to note there, that it doesn't work for fonts for sizes that are very big. So once you have a very big size, you can reduce, you can use 1.3, 1.1, or just 1.0 to multiply it. So if your text size is from, let's say, 32 upward, just use 1.1 or 1.0. But if it's 16, 12, 10, you can 18, 24, you can use 1.6 for your line height. Okay, so is there any question on this? Okay, so I'm not even using a slide to teach, but I just wanted to share my screen so that we'll be doing it together on Figma. So I guess what will happen is we'll just be talking theory while people that will write down should write down. Then once I'm able to share my screen, I'll just show you how it works. So now the next thing we are going to talk about is letter spacing. Now, letter spacing, there are some texts that the fonts are just jam-packed. Like there is no space between each letter, not even small. So those kind of text, you might not be able to read it very well because it will be too narrow. So then, depending on how you set your letter spacing, it's either your text will now be too narrow or it will be too wide. And you don't want a situation where your text is too wide. So it's always perfect that you put our letter spacing to 0. It should always be at 0. But then there are some cases where you can change it, especially when your type what you're typing is an header, you should change it to at least -3%. Then when you have large text and more that are all caps, you should always leave it at 0. Are we following? Are we together?
Yes, ma'am, we are.
Okay, so please, if there's any
Yes, ma'am.
issue, just call my attention to it, please. It's looking like because no slide, everybody is just
It was good.
very down. So that's for it. So the next thing we need to talk about is how to align your text. So I've seen couple of designs where people, when you tell them to write, when they have to do with text, and you see them align their text to the center. Now, when aligning your text to the center, it's not bad, but there are sometimes that it doesn't apply, like it's not looking very fine. But so many people just decide to align text to center because it will look like it's equal on both sides. So for us to now, if you want to align your text to the center, that should be when you have enough rags around the text. But if you don't have rags around the text and everything is looking almost the same, like let's say you write something like every single piece of text is good. Now, if you type that, you will notice that there will be the space between them will not really be too much. Like, okay, try to write something like that on a piece of paper, then use your pen to draw a slant line to see if it will be very slant. Now that's what we call rag. There's some text that you write depending on the copy you're using, and once this one will be very slanty. So those kind of text you can actually centralize it. But when you don't have much of that, it's advisable that you just keep it at your left. And on no condition should you align any text to the right. Any text that you're writing to the right part of the screen. Now, exceptions for, let's say this is our food stuffs, and you want to use the see more button, a text button, which is see more. Yes, you can align that one because they are different. You can put your see more at the right part of the screen. But if it's a full text that you're writing, never align to the right part of the screen. You understand what I mean by the right part of the screen? Is it the right or the left? Well, you shall know what I'm saying. This part of the screen where, okay, yes, for Euro sites, for websites, this side of the screen is mostly used to keep logging. So you see that part where you keep your login and sign in. You should not align, you should not write any text by that side. Exception for, you have an image here, like when you talk about us page, and you have an image by this side, then you can take it there. But if you don't, let's say your picture is centered and you then decide to take your text to this part. Yes, Abayomi, I'm not sharing my screen. Okay, so that's for text alignment. Always ensure that you align your screen to the center when you have your text to the center when you have enough rag. But if you don't have enough rag, ensure that you align it your left to the left part of the screen. Now, I've also seen in designs where people, let's say you have your products, like what I said initially, you have something like our products and you have see more by this part of the screen. It is always advisable that you align it to the base. Initially, I used to make that mistake because I would always want to align it to the center of the text. To the center of the text, but it's not advisable that you align it to the center of the text. Always align it to the base. And to base, I mean your products and other products should be down, like the line. If you're drawing a straight line on where your product is and where see more is, the line should mark both. So there should be no space. So you always align it to the base of your screen. And also, when you want to use text, some things we need to note when using text. We can use text or we can use fonts to establish hierarchy. Now, what do I mean by establishing hierarchy? That's why it's very important that if you're writing any header, it's either your header should be bold, you should bolden it. So with that, someone knows that, okay, yes, this is the most important thing I'm supposed to see when I come to the site, the header, it's important. Or you can also use color. Now, when matching font size, it's advisable that you use bold with regular, extra bold with medium. So that way they are almost looking similar. Just imagine using black with regular. It would be like this. You know how black fonts mostly is black. It's very bold, and you're not using regular or light. It's not advisable most times. So you should mix it with bold regular or bold light, extra bold medium, something like that, so that your text would pop out at every point. Also, make sure that you are not tempted to use light weights of fonts. Let's say light for smaller text. For instance, you're using the 10. Let's say you're using 10 and you are not tempted to use light fonts. It's very obvious that you won't see. So for a situation like that, you should use medium or regular so that someone can see it very well. Then, if you want to pair fonts that are very similar, if you want to pair fonts, ensure that you don't pair two fonts that are similar. Just like trying to pair which font do you think are very similar on Figma? I know Inter and Roboto, they look almost the same, something like that. And you want to pair, you want to now use the two of them to design at once. It's not advisable that you use it. So what should you use? Use fonts that are not really similar. If you need to pair, it need be for you to pair. Like I said, I don't like pairing fonts. I prefer to use just one, and I know that yes, this is what I'm using till the end of it. Okay, so we are done with fonts for now.
I mean,
So
garlic dey inside this thing.
garlic.
You can't see the smell like garlic dey inside.
Is there any question? Please, if your mind is. Okay, you have a question. Hello.
Lizzie, can you mute your mic?
In the corner.
Okay, my question is about that text alignment. So
Okay.
I was told that when you're designing for either dashboards or let's say fintech apps that have to do with a lot of numbers or money, that you should always align the text to the right. Even because you were saying we should not align text to the right, that was why it came to my head, because I know you
Okay,
said
so yeah,
number has to be at the right or at all
I
times.
get what you're saying, but at that when you're aligning something like that, you already have something by the left, right? Like I gave an example of trying to align your product and CMO.
Yes.
So you already have something by the left. The situation
Yeah.
I'm talking about is when you don't have anything. Let's say you put your header one place and you decide to take the text to the right. Truth
Oh, okay.
is, being a UI/UX designer or UI/UX mentor, I've seen designs. Like I have seen designs. Some people will just, this is looking fine, and they place it there. So that's the kind of situation. It's not about money and the rest of them. But you, even if you don't put your money to the right, you can use another color or a bolder font to differentiate it, and it will still work.
Oh,
You
okay.
get?
Yeah.
Okay, so is there any other question? Okay, so there's no question. Now this is the point where we used to have breakout sections where I call someone to explain what we've said so far, so as to ensure that that we are all following. So I'm going to put someone that we're not speaking at this class today. And Nancy. Hello, Nancy.
Hi, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Okay, so I want you to tell us what you've gotten so far. The next phase, I'm going to share my screen for us to continue.
Oh, okay, thank you. Actually, I joined late because I was having network issues, but so far I've learned more about text alignment. You said basically, our alignment for text should be on the left. We should not be tempted to put it in the center because sometimes I do it and I feel like it looks fine now, but but I mean I just heard now that it's wrong, except you have like many rags in the copy, but otherwise your text must be aligned to the left. And then you also talked about it not being aligned to the right, because well, except there's something on the left already, like the instance that you gave. So yeah, basically I guess that's what I've heard so far.
Let me share my screen.
Hi.
Yeah, I can hear you. I said thank you very much.
Okay.
Let me share my
Okay, thank you.
screen now. I can share screen. Okay, let me know when you can see my screen.
It's
Yeah, I
visible.
can see it now.
So what I was saying before about always aligning your text to the baseline, it's in situations like this. Let's say products. Let's say this is 36 and we have something like this. So you have something like this, and this is 24. Now, most people will be tempted to, let me differentiate it. This is gold. Most people will be tempted to leave it like this or align it to the center. But this is a wrong way of aligning your text. So it's always advisable that you align it this way to the base. So that's what I meant when I said if you draw a line, let's say it should be the same. You can see that this is a straight line. So always align smaller text to the base. So this should, to make this look like a button, let's say I decide to make it underline. Yeah. So this is what I meant by that. Okay, so for the calculate, for the line height, this is the part where you, no, this is the part where you fill in your line height. So like I was saying that if your font is, I need to get plenty fonts, plug in, paragraph, 3 paragraphs. This is plenty. So paragraph, maybe 1 paragraph. One is still big though. Is this how big 1 paragraph is? So this was what I meant when I said lag. So I need to take this off. So this was what I meant when I said aligning to the center when you have plenty lag. So this is the lag. This is this space. This space here is what we call lag. Figma should have something like an highlighter. It will do. I just want to highlight this part of the screen and I'm looking for what to use to do it. Figma should have something like an highlighter in case I want to highlight things without getting to draw a shape myself. So, okay, so this space here, this space that is taken from here to here, this is what we mean by lag. Now, if you notice, if I want to align this text, but if I don't want to really do what it doesn't work in most situations. I can just decide to drag this down and arrange the text to fall the same way. Now that center alignment, if you notice, it doesn't work everywhere. Something like this now, you can't align it to the center. Just imagine aligning the text like this to the center. It's looking off already. And this is the right hand part I was talking about, something like this. Some people will not align and keep it like this. Yeah, this is already a wrong placement of point. So if I am to do this very well, center alignment won't work for this kind of situation. So what I would need to do is I would ensure that I don't have much lag by trying to place my, so when we get to auto layout, it will be very easy in auto layout because at that point you don't need to do all this yourself. You just need to use an auto layout and it will easily, yeah, it will easily stick to what you want to do. So something like this is already looking, the rag there is not much, so it can work. So any question we need to ask during the time we're not sharing screen so that I explain it with my screen. Is there any question? If there is no question, let's quickly design something in live class. So what would you like us to design using grid and fonts we've done, and making sure that we follow the principles of a good design? Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, so you think we should design what?
I think a photography landing page, like something that, I think a photography or a news landing page, either of those two, where there's a lot of write-ups.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, but does a photography page require a lot of write-up? Just asking.
No, let's think of a blog.
Okay.
A blog UI. Okay, I just saw one design now that's not following. One second. Let me quickly bring it into Figma. Program sheet. Oh, it's not going to be bright. I wanted to show you something I saw on this page. Let me
Or just
see.
share. Can you just share the link to the image Slack so we can download it if we have it?
Okay, let me get the link. Or is it because I did not open it first? Let me try to open it. You can see my screen, right? What is
Yes,
my
yes.
screen showing?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
ma'am.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. This is how, look at how this text is aligned. Okay, yes, it's now very clear, right? This is already faulty. This part, branding is your identity. This space that is here, who are we leaving it for? Okay, now as a user, seeing this space, what comes to your mind? Let's say you're not a UI UX designer.
It's as a user, I think as a user, I'm trying hard not to categorize your design. As a user, it for me when if I'm going to read something like this, all
Nobody's saying
I'll just
anything.
can you hear me? No?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I said if I were to be a user, not thinking as a UI UX designer, all I'll know is the text is easy for me to read, and page, the page looks airy, like hey, it's passing through a video.
Okay. So hello.
You stop
But
sharing your screen. Sorry.
You have stopped sharing your screen, Boomer.
it's showing now, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. As a user, I wouldn't be bothered about the spacing, because I feel like it is centralized, even though it's aligned to the right, but it's still at the center of the page. My main concern would be that because the icons were the socials were listed at the left, is it left edge or right edge? Yes, the right edge. Yeah, I feel like that was why he had to centralize the text so that there
Okay,
will be no.
so I would have just done this. Even this icon, this socials thing here, for me, users will read from this part to this part. If I get to this part, I would come from here, continue, come from here, continue. It takes someone with patience, like someone with, how will I put it, to notice that we have socials here. So it's a fine design, but first you're designing for your users and not just how it looks. So for me, I would even prefer it is lined downwards, so that once I'm done with this line, I can just easily, they want me to follow their social media, click here. Now, you remember, these users, they have different opinion. So now when you have users with different opinion, what works is majority. Majority carries the vote. So once you're analyzing your research, you just have to deal with what works for almost everybody. So now let's do it. Let's do a vote. If you think you as a user you like the way this is, let me see your hands up. Out of 37 people, we have just one person.
Please come again. Come again.
Okay. If you feel that this is how most times you carry out research. Now, for me as a user, I feel like these socials that we have here, I might not easily see it because I read from here to here, from toe, it will take me back to differentiate, to your. So I would have preferred that this is downwards. So that once I'm done with this, everything your brand should relate to the purpose of your business, your name. Let's say it's a full stop here. I should just see the socials immediately. Because the main essence of these socials is for me to like and to follow you on this particular platform. So I'm asking if you feel that now you're stepping it as a user, if you feel that this social here is good and is making things easy for you, let me see your name.
Okay, can I say something, please?
Yeah, please.
Okay, for design, I don't think it's the Fintree blog or something that put their socials there, because I noticed whenever you try to check out any design, I think Dribble just puts, if you link any of your socials to your design, I think that's the position where Dribble drops people's social. So I don't think it's the people that designed this particular one. I don't know, but I know most times I always see Dribble linked
Social.
Okay,
Right?
let's confirm it with another one.
They're the
But if
one
it's
they
dribble
dropped it.
social, is it dribble that drops it?
No, they put it
No,
there.
because if it's dribble, it's supposed to be clickable,
Exactly, it's
but it's not clickable.
Yeah.
Sorry, Miss Boma, I want to say something.
Okay, please go on.
I guess it's because like it's static. We're just saying it like if it's like the real life one, as you are scrolling up, the socials will be scrolling along with the scrolling of the user. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Okay, yes,
So it
like
wouldn't
this.
just be at the top. Like it's at you as you scroll up, the socials will follow you.
So you're saying the socials is floating?
Yes, that's the design. It's just because you are seeing it static. That's why.
So let's assume that I want to believe you, but let's assume that as we scroll, the
Well,
other
floating social.
no, I want to say if we assume that it is floating and it is on one point, and as we scroll, it remains on that point. What if the image is not as big as this? The socials will not then align because the socials is aligning with this big image now. That's why it's still looking like it makes sense.
Okay. So now we need to. Someone said if you're looking at it from the user's perspective, you will notice these errors. Yes, they've done it people to do actually. For you to be noticing error in every design. I still want to know how many people as a user. Okay, don't analyze again as a user. You come to this site, you easily see this and you click on it. Let me see your hand. Just 2% again. So after all these convincing statements by people that is floating, still don't want to prepare it like this. Anyways, based on me, I don't have patience when going on the site. If I want to like this thing, let it be showing in front of me. Let me like it quick and go. Not to be keeping it here because I might forget after reading the most important thing that took me to this blog. So it's advisable that you keep these socials by your footer, the footer part of it, or you do it there. So let's try to just design this thing and correct this error we are seeing. So let me save this image.
Hi, Boma.
Yeah, hello.
The thing here is I actually traced this blog. It's not a fictional blog. It's actually a real blog on their page. I traced it, and after checking, I found out that the links are actually not here. It is here. The links are down. Like after, it's not on this place. It's like after you've read the whole article. That's when the link. That's when you see.
Okay. You know that this blog can be like someone trying to redesign it.
They're the ones who contribute.
No, like you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Like someone, a UI UX designer that
okay, replicating the design.
Yes, you see most of these things that you hear. Yes, it's a redesign. I just saw it.
Just search at the top, 7 rules of effective.
7 ways of.
7 rules.
Okay.
7 rules. Yeah, that's the first one.
Okay, yes, this is it. But the text is still aligned like this. When you already have grid system, when you already have grid, this is where your grid is starting from. And this is where it's ending. This is the grid you're using. You're not still putting your text here. Why not take it to where this grid is starting? Because I've seen the top. If you're centralizing it, yes, that's a bit different. Now, this is what I was talking about. With this now, I've finished reading this thing. I can just easily click on this to like it. Click on this to like it. Click on this to like it. Click on this to message them. But imagine it's here and you want me to finish reading all this content, then come back here to now do it. It's looking like even time will not even allow us to redesign this. But So what do you think? Should we go ahead to redesign it, or this should be your own task? Intermediate, every day you need to be designing.
Let's replicate the page as our task.
Yes, replicate this page, then any okay, now fine. This is where the assignment will make sense. Replicate this page using all the heuristic principle you learned to make this page usable. If you
Okay.
I've seen one which is there should be a button that should take me back. I don't know if you've seen it on Junior. So I don't need to scroll to the end. I don't need to scroll to the end. So I should just click something to take me back to the top if I want to go back to the top. Now, this is another one. Aesthetics, how it looks. I don't know. Okay. So what's the whole idea of this?
I think it's the, should you say tags or categories?
Yes, tags. It's tags.
It's tags. Okay, it's tags.
Yes.
Well, it's not looking like a button. It's not looking like something we can interact
it's not
with.
looking at it. Doesn't show which one we are on.
Yeah.
No, it's tags. It's tags.
I think it's like their blog post. So this is tag of what is on the post.
Okay.
Yes,
They
like
have
keywords.
branding, they have communications. Okay, yeah. Now I figured.
Yes.
Okay, so this is good. Facing equal. So what else can I? But
hello, Miss Buma.
There's one thing I need to applaud on this site. Their choice of font and everything about the font is nice. It's readable. Even a blind person, no, not a blind person. Even if I remove my glasses, I can still read it. That's nice. I removed my glasses and I can still read it.
So I wanted to ask something.
Okay, yeah, please go on.
You are saying we should redesign this blog page. So I don't know, from the users side, I'm seeing from the users side, I actually like it that it's centered, but I know there can be some places where we need to improve. So if I'm redesigning my own and I leave the way the text is centered, are you going to be
yes, like I said redesign your own and make sure you use all the heuristic principle. I know that they already use some. So check for default and redesign it in a way where if I'm looking at so many things, it will work. Okay, let me click on another page and see something.
Hello, Ms. Boma. Wouldn't this be based on preference?
Okay, you don't prefer this site.
No, I'm saying that yes, we might need to apply some of the rules, but then everybody will not have the same preference.
Yes, even you. That's where I'm coming in.
Yes. I understand what you mean. So that means, do you know that I can be looking at this blog now, presently, and I will not see what you would see.
True.
Yeah, and that's it. I will not see what you were supposed to see. So everybody with different eyes. But I don't want to look at I don't want to look at it. I don't even know where you're submitting it yet. But I don't want to look at it and I see that I cannot escape. Okay, so I like this. This is help and documentation. They're already helping you, even if I need to type. I don't want to type. I want to know how. Send us a message. But the site is fine actually. Okay, and this will be very simple. Let me do another thing. There's no way you would ugly UI.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Please, I'm just trying to suggest something. This particular site looks almost perfect. So I don't know
Okay,
if it's possible
that's
to
what
get
I'm doing
something with
now.
obvious mistakes,
That's
obvious
what I'm
errors,
doing.
so that at
That's what
least
I'm doing.
when we make changes, there will be, I mean, we can observe more things, learn more things in the process, because from what you have seen so far, there are barely.
Let's try Nairaland.
Why Neverland?
I'm just kind of
Boss, I beg
suggesting.
you. I've seen one side. I've seen one. I've fixed it. Maybe I look for. Okay. So someone should just log in that site and let me know what you see. This site I just sent now. It's a no. Oh, sorry. Let me save the image instead of redesign. Okay, so can I send a picture on? Yes, I can. Okay, so I've sent it. Can you see it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so this is the page. Finally, we can see plenty. So we designed this page, putting all the heuristics into consideration.
Which page, please? Which page?
Sorry, which page?
I just sent it to the chat box. Can't you see it?
The link.
No, not a link. I sent a picture to the chat box.
I can't see
Let me.
you.
All right,
can't
I'm
see.
sending it. I'm sending it to the group chat now, so that everybody, even those who are not in class, can see it. So once you see it, let me know. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Okay, let me
No.
share.
We can't see you.
Can you see this here? This is what I sent.
I can see it.
An image now, right?
Yes,
Yes, we've seen it. I've seen it.
Yes. So this
Yes,
is what
I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
on the
this is
Slack.
what, yeah, it's on the Slack and it's also here. So let's redesign this. You want ugly sites. This is ugly enough.
But Miss Boma, it's not full. It's not a full landing.
Yes, I don't want it to be full. Just this part you are seeing now, we have enough.
Okay, ma'am.
Enough error. Yeah, just this part. Just this part now, we have enough error. So
Sorry, what did you say? Sorry.
I said just this part I'm seeing now. I can see plenty flaws on it. Can't you see it? Let's be sincere. Can't you see it?
I cannot see plenty.
See, what are you showing us? Is it still the Amazon image?
Yeah, the Amazon
landing page.
Yes, that's that landing page. No, I'm asking you that from your end, as you're looking at it, can't you see plenty things that needs to be worked on?
I can
Feels
see
like
some things.
it's jam-packed, kind of.
Yeah, so we design it with the principles you've learned. Then next class we will review a couple of it. We'll review plenty of it, depending on where we stop, before we now fully go into colors. So I want to actually show you most of these rules, abiding some of these things. So when you're designing, just know that you're designing something in full. Okay. So we have 10 minutes to end this class. Any questions from the previous class or regarding the assignments? So that we can have it. Because if we start any design now, we will not finish it.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I was going to ask, so
I guess it's not compulsory we use the very images that's on that picture you sent, right?
So I don't actually want to limit anybody, but that's like a sample. What I typed ugly UI. So we can just decide to type ugly UI on the website, on Google. Then you see different designs.
Sorry, I think you didn't get my question. I understand about to redesign that particular Amazon page, but since I'm sure the page is no longer live, that means we wouldn't be able to get those exact images that.
Yes. Yes. There's no way you can get it. Yes, there's no way you can get it exactly.
Right, that was just what I wanted clarification.
But the truth is, if everybody, all 37 people and more people that will watch online that will do that task, they all do one particular design, it's my boss, right? So I think I would have to look for different ones so that you choose the category you want to follow in that. I just saw one.
Okay, fine.
So that you can choose. Let's have like 3 categories. So even if it's 10 persons designing each, you know that we have a lot to. Okay, so I've sent the second one to the group. So once you can see it, let me know.
I see.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yes. I will make materials available. Maybe tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. We'll send it to the group chat. So this is another image. Let me look for the last one.
I want to do all the image. I want to work on it.
No, like you choose one out of the 3 to design.
What if all of us end up choosing the same one?
You people cannot end up choosing the same one. I mean, you want me to group you now on this call?
It's better to group.
Because I know that this last one I'm sending, nobody will decide to choose it.
Normal.
I will choose it.
This last one. Okay, open it first and see.
I don't think the grouping is necessary.
But open this last one and tell me if you still choose it.
The welcome to Apple.
Yes, let me know the people that I'm putting under that group now.
I'm not choosing it again. No.
I'm not. So please, if you're not choosing it, let me see your hands. Oh.
My hands up.
No, trap. Set up.
Okay, so Chiamaka, Dami, Smith, you're all doing that particular one. If every other person can design that one, you see 3 of you.
Mess up.
Please, I'm begging. I think it's better if we choose the one we want.
No.
Realize that now.
On the second thought,
but this is something that will make you think very well, because this site is not following any of the principles at all. None.
That's like 1997. Was there any principle?
Yeah.
I'm surprised this is even Apple.
1997 now. What do you expect?
It's 1997 now.
Not even the websites.
This was
It looks like 1901.
Modernize it, can change the logo, everything.
You don't even need to change it. Just check Apple's current website and I should.
Who is giving them excuse?
Ojoro, that's cheating.
You can't even design Apple current website like you.
No, right. I think you should have all the details on this one too, but just different interface. Am I
So
right?
it's a site that was a hit, I swear. As at that time, it was the biggest site too. Okay, so we have three set of people. The people that are redesigning this Apple 1997 page. We have the people that are designing that mobile app screen, and we have the ones designing that. Which one is the last one? Designing
the Amazon one.
Amazon.
Yes. So we have three set of people.
Amazon.
Okay, so let's see how it goes. Let's see how you're able to use the principles that you are judging from other people's sites. We will judge your own sites. And the truth is, I will judge it well. I will not pity anybody. All right, guys, is there any other question so that we can wrap up? We have
Sorry, I have a question.
Okay, so please ask.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so my question was that type of graph we were talking about the line height. I think it's quite like you said something about multiplying. So the line height is
Okay.
can you just recap?
Am I the only one that can't hear him?
I can't hear him also, but I can hear him saying line height, line height.
Said you should recap for what you said concerning the line height.
Okay, so I said for the line height, if your base text, if the text you want to use is, let's say it's 20, you should multiply it by 1.6. But if it's more than 20 and the text you're using is from 30 something upward, you should multiply by 1.3, 1.1, or 1.0 for you to get your line height. And it mostly works when, let's say your header it's two lines. See our beauty sleep here. So you don't want it to be jam-packed, then you can. I know that header text is like should be around 46. So you just multiply by 1.0 and you get your line height. So do you get it now?
Can I ask a question, Buma?
Yes, you can.
So all this all this maths will be added to the material you sent, right?
Yes, I'll add on.
All right, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. So any other question?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, so go on.
It's not concerning the class. I wanted to ask this can we see your portfolio?
My portfolio is not plenty, but I'm going to show it now. I put my, okay. Let me open it. Okay. So when you can see my screen, let me know. So this is my portfolio. So no long grammar, no plenty things. So where I've worked before, my skill, then this is like the design I did, build with Avox. I included the live URL, then went further to talk about the problems and everything related to it, the solution, the tools I use, my design process. Then I had to stop there, went further to talk about this mobile app I've done. Then I included the live link.
I like
So
how
that's
minimal
why
you are with your designs.
I don't like plenty designs. Like I don't like plenty colors and every other thing. Or maybe because of the kind of clients I've been meeting so far. If I see the one that wants plenty, but then you can actually talk to your clients, because what I do is I tell them I'll do the user, I'll do everything. I'll talk to your users. It's what your users want, I'll design. But if you still don't want that one, I'll work with what you want. So your portfolio should not really carry plenty things. I still have another one, but let me see if I can see it. Dribble, when I started off newly. Okay, so this is my Dribble site. So these are the designs I've done when I started off initially. You can see that I actually made lots of mistakes. Like see where my logo is and see where my alignment is starting. Now, I will never tell people that, even though that I put it on Dribble, I will not tell people that I'm the one that designed it. But what I've learned so far about alignment and the rest of them. So this is like the first cryptocurrency app I designed. So,
So,
we'll
so
be
I have a
building
question, Boma.
Okay.
So, I know that a lot of people come into UI UX without a prior background in designs, and sometimes I have a little knowledge of design before I came into UI UX, and now what I'm struggling with is the UX part of the program, that is the research and all. But sometimes I have this imposter syndrome because, yes, I know I'm a bit well off with the UI part, but I still feel like it's a cheat code.
Hello?
He's not speaking anymore.
Has he stopped talking?
I think so.
You can't hear me again now.
Hello. Please, we can't hear you, Boma.
Oh.
Is it everyone that this is happening to?
She's not
But I
saying
think she has stopped
anything
talking.
yet.
Yes,
Hello?
stop talking.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
I
Yeah, we
said
can hear
maybe
you,
his
Boma.
network logged him off because I can't hear him also.
No, come back to get one. Okay, so can I ask a question quickly, please?
Yes, please.
Can I just become a UI designer?
Yes, you can. But the issue is because I started off designing. Like I just saw Figma and I started designing. But along the line, you will find out that you can design nonsense that your users cannot use. That it's, one thing is to design, another thing is to make people come to your site. Because if it's just about designing, truth is front-end developers can do it. They can just give them the brief of the site you want and they'll come up with it. But the main reason why they're employing you as a designer is because they want you to bring the user part of it to the table, for them to be able to gain more users, for their users to stay, because we have plenty competition. We have them plenty. So we need to allow your users stay. So for you to be able to allow your users stay, that means you must do the research part of the whole work. I work for a company that I rarely design. Let's say in a month, I can do just one design which they might not even use. The only thing my boss, because he's in the UK, so the only thing he will tell you is, we might look at it from the user part. Will you use this website? So that's the only thing I just need to do. Tell him, okay, this part, I don't like this part, I don't like this part. So most times it's not even about the design, it's about the usability of your site. So I guess I've answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, you have. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So is there any other question?
Is dialogue.
Are you saying anything?
No, I don't think there are any other questions.
Okay. All right. So some groups are doing this one, some other groups are doing this one. So by Monday, we'll review it.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Goodbye.
No, J. Smith, I did not group you people. No. I allowed you to follow, to do what you want to do. But if I see more of the simple design, we'll start back.
Hello.
No, you're not submitting now. You're not submitting now.
I'm
This
sorry,
time
but
I don't want to see plenty design submission without correction. So what will happen is I'll look at the heuristics used in judging the site. I'll look at your redesign, make corrections. Once we are done with the corrections, like we did the last time, then we will not think of submitting. But for now, just do it. Work around all you've learned from typography to heuristic principle to grid system. Work with it. You still have one pending that I've made correction, but I've not seen the correction. No, in our next class on Monday, we'll talk how we are going to do it. You're not sending it to me personally. All right, guys, thank you for joining today's class. This is where we would call it a day. We are modifying it. Yes, you are. You are redesigning it. Oh, fine. So we are following our own pattern.